Mayank.
Hi, welcome.
Good to see you.
You've come for first.
This is the first time.
When we speak of ISB and its impact on students, the one word that stands out is transformation. We welcome bright young minds to the school, see them graduate with flying colors, and go on to accomplish some incredible things.
And then earlier there were these two tables.
Yeah.
Like one table here, one table.
He co-founded upGrad with the goal of impacting the lives of professionals by helping them upskill while they work. And he views his company not as an edtech player, but as an online educational institution. Beginning in 2015 with just 114 learners, upGrad has expanded to over 10 million learners across 100 countries as of last year, becoming a unicorn and also the country's largest online education company along the way. Laser focused on bridging the gap between working professionals and the rapidly evolving industry requirements, Mayank has leveraged his considerable experience in the education sector into driving a transformation of the country's online education landscape. He was named in the Economic Times 40 Under 40 list in 2023 and has received many other awards in recognition of his work. Join me for a conversation that delves into the journey of Mayank Kumar from the PGP class of 2009, the co-founder and managing director of upGrad.
Mayank, it's so good to see you here.
Good to have you here, Guru, as well.
Thank you. You know, when I see you today in your office, I'm reminded of Shah Rukh Khan.
Shah Rukh.
Yeah. And it's because of a story you told me or a example that you told me when we met in Mohali in 2019. But you know, that year was the first time ISB had sort of started thinking of some online sort of attempt.
I remember that meeting. Yeah.
So I remember that meeting. It was almost like a masterclass. But what really got me, and it has stayed with me, and I've used that many times, is you said the biggest challenge for faculty would be to move from being theater artists and performers where they perform in front of a live audience, emote and receive feedback, and then to switch over in this online space to being a Shah Rukh Khan who looks into this 4x4 camera thing.
Correct.
And so in some sense I've always thought of you as Shah Rukh Khan of the online learning space.
You know, the fun part is there's a second statement to this, that when we say that, look, faculty have to become from theater artists to movie stars.
Yeah.
One of the faculty just corrected me saying that at least faculty members can become a movie star. So that's
Trust faculty members to say something like this.
That's what faculty members believe, that look, it is easy for me to become a movie star, but
they can't stop. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. But you know, I'm so happy that we are here and sort of having this conversation. Thank you for your time.
No.
I want to sort of just get a sense from you in terms of, I know you've said this at various platforms, but you know, the idea of upGrad and your love for education sector was always there through your sort of post ISB career.
Yep.
But the upGrad seeds in your mind and sort of the growth thereafter. Tell us a little bit about that.
I had a very interesting incident, and I can connect to a lot of things, but when I was thinking on hindsight a year, 2 years after starting off upGrad, that where did the penny dropping moment happen for me? So at the back of the mind, Guru, every time, there was always a thought that you will start something of your own. So there was no questions about that. But my incident that sort of actually was a penny dropping moment was a meeting to evaluate a startup that was incubated in Greater Noida. So we went to one of the colleges to just check out one startup which was getting formed there, and they were trying out a few things to supply to colleges. So I drove down from Delhi. It's a long drive, beautiful highway. You land up and you park the car outside. And then I was asking the guard, like, what happens here? So the guard was a little clueless, and he said, I don't know, sir, koi aata hai, koi nahi aata hai, andar pe kuch hota rehta hai. I go inside the building, and the whole building was empty.
And this is a college?
That's a college.
Yeah.
These are like ghost colleges. Everything was completely empty. And on one of the floors, first, second floor, there was a small classroom where there were 4 children studying. And I went and asked them, I said, क्या हो रहा है? Sir, कुछ होता नहीं है, कभी teacher आते हैं, कभी नहीं आते, but we have to come here because of attendance, etc.
Yeah.
And I laughed a little. I said, like, ये तो मतलब बहुत ही बुरा हालत है यहाँ पे. And that's the time, Guru, the real penny dropping moment happened for me, because for me, that's the time I realized that what we call as demographic dividend, which we used to debate as demographic debt or disaster versus demographic dividend. If this is the situation, things will not get solved.
The dividend is not going to pay.
It's not going to come out. So my thought was that, look, I either stop laughing about it or I continue laughing but do something about it.
Sure.
And therefore, I decided that I want to continue to laugh, but I want to do something about it. And that's where the thought of upGrad came in, that, look, there is a problem and that problem has to be solved. That was the genesis that said, do something.
Do something. And now it's for 10 years?
9 years plus. So yeah, Guru, now the numbers sound impressive. It's all a 10-year overnight success. I mean, you have to be at it. I think one of the key things is that you never realize, I mean, when I was starting upGrad, I did not know 10 years later, this is where it will land up at. I mean, I always wanted to be one of the largest education companies coming out of India, but never felt that we'll land up here. So, I mean, anybody starting up, I mean, always thinks that next year is going to be much better, which it does not end up being. But 10 years, you surpass all your expectations.
I am also intrigued by another sort of usage of how you describe upGrad. Many times you have referred to upGrad as a higher education institution, not necessarily a company. I mean, most people think of it as a net tech company, but this is a shift in how you think of upGrad and what it...
I mean, I do use a higher education company, but I never use higher education platform. I mean, the platform as a word I have never sort of used.
Sure.
I've never used EdTech. I've always used higher education because we believe that tech is just a sort of enabler to take education better. Why not a platform, Guru? Because a platform is a place where anybody can connect and you don't have a control on what you're offering. And for us, it's very critical that you control the experience of the learner. In education, I mean, you know it better than I do that, look, unless the institution is providing that outcome, repeat, referral, etc., don't end up happening. And therefore, for us, there's a theory in education which sort of long time back, I think when we were at ISB, a lot of conversation was happening about making content accessible.
Yeah.
There was a massive project by Government of India. MIT started these MOOCs operation and everybody made content accessible. And therefore, in the journey of education, while you started with access, you moved to completion. Today, you are purely in the outcomes place, which is about how has it impacted your ROI? If you're putting in $100, are you treating this as an insurance product that nothing will happen, and if something goes bad, I'm protected?
Then have something to fall back upon.
Or you're considering this as a mutual fund product that you're putting in 100, do you get 120, 130 over a period of time? So I think now education is becoming a lot more a mutual fund product than an insurance product, which is a shift that we are seeing because people are now seeing education as, if I'm putting in 100, I'll get 120, 130, 150, 200, 300 back easily. But people are now getting smarter about how education can solve for the problem, and therefore everyone wants to see this as a mutual fund product. But because if it's an insurance product, then it gets a very pushy sale. The moment it becomes a mutual fund sahi hai, then it gets a very like sort of pull product.
It's very interesting. So we are talking marketing, we are talking product, a whole bunch of things. So I want to sort of go back to ISB and your sort of journey at ISB. How did ISB happen?
No, so I was speaking to somebody that, look, a whole lot of what has happened to me has been a series of accidents.
So is it safe to call you an accidental entrepreneur?
Yeah, maybe an accidental, absolutely. And I think I would say that, look, a lot what has happened in my life is because of accidents. And when I say accidents, I don't mean it in the negative sense.
Sure, of course.
I just mean that I got exposed to something which I was not supposed to get exposed to. And then after you get exposed to it, you start loving it. So growing up in Assam, did not know what engineering, what IITs were about till much later in my career, because there's not too many sort of awareness or exposure that you get. It's not in there. Nobody had come to an IIT, etc. So somebody told me this happens. And I said, okay, might as well try. So IIT to me from that context happened by accident. Coming out of IIT, there are multiple, you always wanted to be in the core job. I got into consulting again by a little bit accident. After IIT. So I joined Tata Strategic. So that happened because one of my friends sent an email saying, okay, dekho, this consulting firm, they're hiring. Why don't you guys apply as a business analyst? So that happened by accident. Then applying for business school, ISB again happened by accident. So I was waitlisted.
Oh, you were waitlisted.
I was like, no news, nothing is going to happen, not going to happen. So I got the quad, which is the last quad of ISB. So the last 3 roll numbers of ISB were together. There was 3 of us were the last one that ISB said, look, kuch nahi hoga to ye log ko to leke aate hain abhi yahan par. So that's how sort of ISB happened. In fact, funny story that at the time when you're applying, you apply for all this CAT, GMAT, and sort of take everything. I took the CAT and I took the GMAT, etc. And Aparna, my wife, she's also from ISB. She also did the same thing. And I was helping her, preparing her, look, this is how you crack CAT, this is how you crack GMAT, etc. So the results come out. I have no wait list on any of the IIMs, no sort of short list from any of the IIM except for one IIM. And ISB also is waitlisted. And Aparna has A, B, C, L, I, K, and ISB. Everything is done. So now we are just sort of figuring out what to do. And therefore, I think when ISB confirmed, we both decided that we'll come to ISB.
Because both of you are there.
Both of us are there. Plus, again, for multiple other reasons, because
Sure.
of the faculty base, because of the quality of education, because of the 1 year duration. I think everything sort of worked out well.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's a decision neither of you have regretted
No,
at
no,
all.
no. I have a philosophy that I never regret any decision.
Yeah.
In hindsight, if you start regretting, you'll be a billionaire by now. So you don't ever regret anything in
Yeah,
hindsight.
yeah.
No, but it was a phenomenal experience. So ISB from that context happened
Yeah.
by accident. Starting up of upGrad was accident. Ronnie and I met like completely sort of serendipity, and it was not planned in any
So
way.
it wasn't one of those planned prospecting kind of.
So it was not at all planned. It was just, he said, do you want to start? I said, like, I know. Initially, my answer was no. And I
Sure.
said, I went away. But the point there, Guru, is that sometimes, I mean, life throws you with opportunities, and
Yeah.
it's up to you to take up that opportunity and build something meaningful out of it.
Sure.
You start loving it. When education happened by accident, education became one of the best thing in my life.
Yeah.
As a sector that I'm tracking,
Yeah.
etc. So you may not like it, but if you put your heart and soul in it, you start loving it, and that's
Yeah.
where when passion, work, everything stuff come together, and that's been a journey. But again, as I said, ISB was completely accidental.
So Mayank, one of the things about ISB you've been talking about, you've done multiple things, like any student would do at ISB during that 12 months. What has been, a couple of things that stood out for you?
Yeah.
One, in terms of the activities that you've, sort of engaged and sort of led. And also in terms of, are there any courses or, faculty that, you now think of it saying, that was something that I didn't pay attention to as much at that time, but I've sort of, picked up so many things that I'm perhaps...
Many like that. So ISB, I just felt that there are so many things to do. And it just gives you each and every opportunity. You want to do something in sports, you can do. If you want to do something in health, you can do. If you want to start something, you have the opportunity. If you want to network, you have the opportunity. If you don't want to do anything, there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Now, that actually sometimes is very confusing for somebody entering into ISB. So for me, I think one of the good things that I did before starting off ISB was I just made myself that, look, I will do only two things. And I'll do these two things really, really well.
Yeah.
Because every time you get tempted to doing ye bhi karta, ye bhi karta, ye bhi
The
karta.
problem of plenty.
And there's a problem of plenty. And that's the
Yeah.
beauty of the school, right? I mean, that you can do, every kind of folks can come in and they can just sort of get exposed to anything and everything. But what you pick and choose, then my point was, let's just do the best job that is out there versus trying to do too many things. So that was just the experience at ISB. And I think that those pieces did help me figure out how to say no to things. It's very
Yeah.
easy for us to get excited and say yes to multiple things, but saying no to things is strategy.
Yeah.
Saying yes to things is execution. So sometimes what you say no to matters a lot more. And I think that initial sort of grounding did help at ISB to develop as a leader. One area which I did not pay enough attention to, and I felt, and I still have some of the books, and I opened up those much later after starting upGrad.
Sure, the course material. Yeah.
Was around organizational behavior, HR, people management, sort of behavioral psychology, etc.
Sure.
Because those are the things that are needed the most when you're running a venture. You can go back to accounting, you can go back to marketing, you can go back to strategy, but those elements are
People
like
management,
people management
stakeholder
is just so
management.
important. And I
Yeah.
just wish I could have spent a lot more time and focus on those topics a lot more then.
Yeah.
Because it helps. And I think, that's why in hindsight, I just felt that that's one bit that I could have spent and enjoyed a lot more. But
I was going to ask you, as a a leader in the space, you've seen the entire edtech space grow, the online learning, higher
is
education. I know you said tech is only an enabler, so I'm going to not use that word.
No.
So, but this whole online learning, the entire higher education learning change, from the vantage point that you occupy, when you look at schools like ISB or Alma Mater and other higher education institutions in this country venture into this journey, what's the one thing that you find that they're doing right, and what are the things that you would want them to do differently?
yeah. No, so from an institution perspective, I think we need more institutions to come in the online space.
Okay.
And I think, ISB has led. I just feel that ISB is one of the most pioneered institutions when it comes to online education. And if I can put it across, not just in India, but globally. And
Okay.
I've seen a lot of institutions doing the kind of work, and ISB is doing a very good job in sort of putting across some of the best courses and sort of offering those in the ecosystem. I think one area where I think ISB perhaps will move towards is that today these courses are being seen as a learning course. I think over a period of time, this will again evolve into an outcome course. And I think with the network that ISB has, they can make the last mile of outcome much stronger in the journey.
I want to ask you about you spoke about the network earlier, and I want to, you're part of the vibrant alumni network, and we have this incredibly diverse and talented alumni pool. How have you been able to work with the alumni network? Are there any instances where you benefited from the, alumni network, or someone else? You just spoke of how you also advise people who want to come into ISB and so on. Tell us a little bit about your engagement with the alumni community at ISB.
No, I think, so the good part is that at ISB's alumni are across all sorts of organizations, and it just sort of makes the conversation much easier, much faster. I mean, whether it is hiring at upGrad, because a lot of ISB folks we hire at upGrad and they sort of build long-term careers, or even going out and meeting with, let's say, investors or policymakers or various conversations where you end up stumbling upon somebody from ISB. And I think that's the beauty of ISB's ecosystem, because you have alumni across various places. So for example, I mean, just to sort of set some context, some of the companies that we collaborate with are founded by ISB alum. And therefore, the relationship becomes slightly more tighter when you're sort of conversing with them and having a conversation with these guys. When I'm sort of looking at understanding how should we look at expanding in a new space, I think one of the first port of calls end up being the alumni network. And you ask somebody, okay, what do you do in Levers? What do you do at ITC? What do you do in McKinsey, etc.? Because a lot of our alumni are based
and they're all over
across all over the place. I think that network part is super critical. Now, in the area of work that you're doing, I think over a period of time, when you reach out to an alum, the great part is that the alum don't say no, that I don't want to sort of work. I mean, I was just having a conversation about how to build large platforms which can roll up and look at IPO. I think one of the alum was very, very helpful, and he said, okay, I'm the first batch, and sat with me and sort of charted out the entire path. For some reason, the threshold of awkwardness comes down.
Of course. Or at least the starting point is one of trust.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Mayank, one of the things is, you are a successful entrepreneur now, and you're also doing a bunch of stuff to promote entrepreneurship and help startup founders or aspiring startup folks. What do you think schools like ISB should be doing different or better to sort of start this journey a little early? And we are doing a bunch of stuff under iVenture at ISB, you know that. But what do you think we should be doing better?
Look, I think for folks who have just graduating or who would have graduated a year, 2, 3 years earlier, I think if ISB can create an ecosystem where there could be an incubation opportunity for alums to come and sort of start something and get the, I mean, look, life has got multiple challenges, but at least ISB creates a bubble in some way that it keeps you away from all other distraction and let you focus on a few things.
Like a safe zone.
Yeah, it is a safe zone, and then you cut out all distractions, you just focus on getting your stuff done and work done. And I think if that's something of ecosystem can be provided for, I don't know, 0 to +3 or 0 to +5 alum range, if something of that sort can be done, that definitely will add. And I think we should have a lot more. ISB is one school amongst all business school that can add a lot in the entrepreneurial journey.
And why do you say so?
I think people come with experience, so there's a lot more maturity. When they're coming out, ISB also exposes you to a whole lot of things. And I think entrepreneurship should be a very strong outcome that we should measure. Entrepreneurial journey should be a strong sort of ecosystem that we can provide for anybody to come out, such that, look, it's a lot. I mean, I know you said I'm a successful entrepreneur. I don't believe that, because there's still a lot of work to be done. But a lot of this thing is luck. But if you cut out some of the distraction, the probability of success you can expand manyfold.
Understood.
With some capital, with some resources, with some support, mentorship, etc., the success probability will increase manyfold, and that's the job that ISB can do. ISB cannot guarantee success,
of course,
but it can increase the odds of your success by just providing you the support in the first few months.
Going back to your statistics class.
Yes, statistics class, exactly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that we are also, because I think knowingly or unknowingly, there have been like a stream of very successful entrepreneurs from ISB. When you just look around on any measurable parameter, and I think the last few years that's been now a focused effort. To sort
and I think whenever I meet an alumni, I was telling you sort of off record, but every time I tell them now it's the time for you to quit.
Startup.
Because then they ask you, but what's the best time to start? I said, there's no good time to start. It's not. It's like stock market. You can't time the market. You have to start whenever you feel like starting off.
And then it grows after that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have you do a rapid fire round.
Usually in rapid fire, you get the questions in advance.
No, but we don't fix things, Mayank. So we know they're incredibly talented and capable. So, what's the current favorite on your bookshelf and why?
Yeah, so there's a book called Optimal that I'm reading on EQ and emotional intelligence. I'm a very analytical bent of mine, and therefore just trying to understand how does emotional quotient helps in building large and good organizations.
Okay. One favorite campus memory?
On camera?
Well, whatever goes for public consumption. So,
so I think the birthday celebration used to be unique. And getting dunked in the pool.
It no longer happens though now.
It does not happen? So getting dunked in the pool was a good experience. And I think the best part I remember was there were two of us getting dunked and the other guy just forgot to take off the mobile phone. And I was smart enough to let the mobile phone go away. But that was an interesting one. I think everybody came together. It was fun.
Of the many that you have. A lesser known fact about Mayank Kumar.
Like I'm a huge cricket buff. I mean, if anything else, I would be doing cricket.
The last thing you did for the first time?
I ran the 42 kilometers for the first time.
This was this year?
This was this year.
Oh, lovely.
There was a challenge that was thrown at me that less than 1% or 5% do the full marathon in under 4 hours. In the first attempt. So that was a goal that I had kept. And literally just by the smallest or the barest of the margin, I did it in 3 hours for 59 minutes.
Fantastic. Congratulations. What's a quick advice for budding founders?
Never time when you are going to launch the business. Every time is a good time as long as you're passionate about the idea. And don't go with plan B. If you're going in, I say, at the start of upGrad, somebody said, what's your plan A? I said, it's a $1 billion company. And what's your plan B? It's a $900 million company. So don't go with plan B whenever you're launching something.
Lovely. What's an advice for the current class of students who are at ISB?
Look, enjoy the time, focus on what you want to achieve, and you will get many opportunities to complain. But now what you have, just enjoy what you're doing because, I think ISB provides pretty much everything for everyone. So it's up to you to choose what you want to pick up and just go all out to making sure that you're successful in that.
And the same to the alumni? What would you tell your fellow alums?
Meet a lot more. I think that's one thing that... somebody asked me this question, Guru, that what's a regret? About ISB, I said, I never carry regret. And I said, no, tell me regret. I said, the only thing is that it's just 1 year. And I think there's no overlap across batches and therefore everything starts fresh. And I think that's one place where if I could have met a lot more people, I would have enjoyed that. And I think that's something that with via team, now I'm trying to get ISB Alum in the startup space to just sort of connect a lot more and engage a lot more together. I think on campus also, one of the points I want to just definitely touch upon is that there's a lot of stress on placements. People talk about placements a lot. Do not, as I said, sort of end up overestimating short term and underestimating long term because in the long run, everything sort of pays out. We entered ISB and I think you remember very well when we entered, first we heard about Bear Stearns collapsing, then we heard Lehman Brothers collapsing, then we got this Satyam thing hitting the ecosystem, and by the time we got to December, we said, "Ab to kuch nahi hoga." But I think we have one of the very successful batch coming out, and in the long term, don't sort of underestimate. It all adds up, and it all adds up well.
Yeah, and we are sitting here discussing all the success and all the great work. Thank you so much, Mayank.
Thanks a lot, Guru.
It's really splendid chatting with you. Thank you.
Thank you.